A traveling salesman is driving through a snowstorm in a remote part of Exmoor at night when his car breaks down, leaving him stranded. No cell phone signal. What can he do? Blinking the snow flurries out of his eyes, he notices the dim lights of a house in the distance. With no other choice, he trudges through the snowdrifts across a couple of fields until he reaches a remote farmhouse. Shivering from the cold, he knocks on the solid farmhouse door. The door is answered by a rather large and elderly farmer. "What do you want?" he says. "Sorry to disturb you," the salesman says, "but my car has broken down up on the main road. My phone won't work, and so I was wondering if you might have a phone here I could use." "Ain't no phone, friend. You'll have to come in and stay till morning. Then I will give you a lift to the village on tractor. The pub will have a phone." He's ushered into the parlor and sat in front of a blazing fireplace to thaw out. As his senses start to return, he notices the beautiful young lady on a sofa, darning woolen socks, placing her work to one side. She stands and asks, "Would you like to join us for supper? It's just some sandwiches and a mug of cocoa, but you'd be more than welcome." Turning to the farmer, the salesman says, "It's really very kind of you both, but I don't want to impose on you and your daughter." "Daughter?" booms the farmer, laughing. "She's my wife." The salesman is incredulous. The farmer must be in his 60s at least, while his wife can only be mid-20s at most. And was it his imagination, or was the young lady now casting amorous glances in his direction? He joined the couple at their dining table, and they all enjoyed a convivial evening chatting while eating doorstep sandwiches washed down with a big mug of cocoa. During this time, it became very obvious that the lady was very much taken with the salesman. "Right," said the farmer. "Time for bed now, so we can get you to the village in good time tomorrow morning. We're a bit short of space at the moment. The sofa is the dog's bed, so you'll have to share our bed upstairs. Don't worry. My wife and me haven't had relations for years, so you won't be in the way." After nervously undressing, the salesman settled into the bed space between the farmer and his wife. The farmer turned his back to the salesman and was soon fast asleep. He turned towards the wife and was met with a passionate kiss and embrace. "Would you like to make love to me?" asked the wife expectantly. "He'll sleep through anything, so there's no problem. Just to check, reach down and pull a hair out of his bum." The salesman does just that. The farmer doesn't stir at all, so the salesman and the wife passionately embrace and make love. Once they've finished, they lay back, basking in the glow of the most wonderful sex either has experienced. The farmer remains dead to the world. After a short rest, their passions rise, so the wife suggests he tests the farmer again. Once again, the salesman reaches down and pulls a hair out of the farmer's backside. With no response, the salesman and the wife again indulge themselves. The lovemaking sessions go on through much of the night, each one preceded by the salesman pulling a hair out of the farmer's backside. Close to exhaustion, the couple decide to have one last go before they get some sleep. The salesman reaches down to pull another hair from the farmer's backside. This time, the farmer is awake and catches his hand. "Listen, friend," says the farmer, "I don't mind you shagging my missus, but do you have to keep using my ass as a scoreboard?" A little old lady entered the main branch of a large downtown bank with a large grocery bag in her arms. She told the teller that she wanted to open an account to make a substantial deposit in excess of $200,000. Further, she said that since such a large sum was involved, she would deal only with the president of the bank to make the necessary arrangements. The teller looked in the bag and confirmed that it was, in fact, full of cash. He called upstairs and explained the situation to the bank president, who agreed to see the woman. The teller escorted her to the president's office, and the president invited her to have a seat, which she accepted. She repeated her request to open an account. The president said he would take care of it personally, but his curiosity was killing him. He said, "Mind if I ask how you happened to come into such a large sum of cash?" "Not at all," was her reply. "I bet." "You bet?" he countered. At the racetrack, or on professional sports, or in casinos. Nothing like that, she said. I just bet. For example, I'll bet you $50,000 that by tomorrow morning, your balls will be square. The president chuckled, but seeing that the lady had the funds to back up such a wild bet, agreed. They shook hands on it, and she promised to return at 9 the next morning, to follow up, and left. As the day wore on, the president found himself frequently checking to make sure that all was in order. It was, but just as a precaution, he cancelled his regular Tuesday afternoon golf match and went home early. The next morning when he showered, he was actually quite relieved to find that nothing had changed drastically while he slept. He confidently headed for the bank, laughing all the way at the unexpected windfall that was about to become his. The little old lady showed up promptly at the appointed hour, accompanied by a young man. When the president asked who he was, she replied that he was her lawyer, who she always brought along when payoffs involving significant sums were involved. The president told her that sorry, she had lost that particular bet, so the funds would be outgoing rather than incoming. She insisted on examining the evidence for herself, considering the amount at stake. He deemed it a reasonable request under the circumstances, so he stood up, unbuckled his belt, and dropped his pants. She proceeded to closely inspect his jewels for any abnormalities. As she did, the president noticed that her lawyer was standing in the corner, banging his head against the wall. He asked the lady, "What's the matter with him?" She paused her inspection long enough to glance at the lawyer and replied, "Oh, him. I bet him $250,000 that before 10 a.m. today, I'd have the president of the bank by the balls." This guy wakes up one morning to find a gorilla in his tree. He looks in the phone book for a gorilla removal service until he finds one. "Is it a boy or girl gorilla?" the service guy asks. "Boy," is the man's response. "Oh yeah, I can do it. I'll be right there," says the service guy. An hour later, the service guy shows up with a stick, a chihuahua, a shotgun, and a pair of handcuffs. He then gives the man some instructions. "Now I'm going to climb this tree and poke the gorilla with the stick until he falls. When he does, the trained chihuahua will bite the gorilla's testicles off. The gorilla will then cross his hands to protect himself and allow you to put the handcuffs on him." The man asks, "What do I do with the shotgun?" The service guy replies, "If I fall out of the tree before the gorilla, shoot the chihuahua." My friends, if you want to watch other funny jokes, subscribe to the channel.